Hello, everyone. Welcome to our debate this week. Today, I have my friends Osman and Yusuf here. Sorry for that. And we're gonna debate about which education system is better, online system or face-to-face system. Me and Yusuf here will talk about and try to refute face no, we will talk about online education and we will try to refute face-to-face education. And Osman will defend face-to-face education. I should start with what online education is, and then I'm gonna let my friend Osman talk. Firstly, online education is any form of education that can be made with an internet connection. And it's it can be made from all around the world. There's online classes, and you only need an internet connection and a device that can be a tablet, a PC, computer, or a telephone, maybe, and an internet connection to connect and listen, learn from these online classes. Uh, my first my first claim is online education is better because it is more accessible than any other kind of education systems, because you only need an internet connection. And uh, in our today's world, everyone has an internet connection. No house, except for few exceptions, of course, no house is left without an internet connection and a computer. So it is accessible to everyone, and from these online education courses, you can learn education. You can learn anything from all around the world. So I'm giving word to Osman, my friend Osman. Hello, Osman.
Hello, thank you, Esad. Hello there. Again, I will be supporting the face-to-face education and try to refute their ideas. First of all, let's explain what face-to-face education is. Face-to-face learning or education is an instructional method where course content and learning materials are taught in person, face-to-face, to a group of students. This allows for a live interaction between a learner and an instructor. It is the most traditional type of learning instruction. It's everywhere, it's very common. Learners benefit from a great level of interaction with their fellow students as well. In face-to-face learning, students are held accountable for their progress at the class's specific meeting date and time. Face-to-face learning ensures a better understanding and recollection of lesson content and gives class members a chance to bond with one another. Face-to-face learning is essentially a teacher-centered method of education and tends to vary widely among cultures. Many modern education systems have largely shifted away from traditional face-to-face forms of educational instruction in favor of individual students' needs. So the world started to stop use stop using this traditional method of learning. Um, so when it comes to why we should choose face-to-face education over the online education or blended kind of education, because it offers many advantages for both students and the teachers. One of the biggest advantages of face-to-face education is that teachers get to have a real-time interaction with their students. Face-to-face learning ensures a real-time interaction between students and teachers and among students themselves. So there is a social aspect, first of all. This is a great opportunity for people who learn better through cooperative activities. By cooperative activities, I mean the activities you do with others, not by yourself. Uh, it's like a group work, asking questions and getting the answers in the real time. Like you ask a question and you get the answer right after the question. So there's this kind of speed in terms of getting the answer. So it becomes more memorable if that's the case. Getting feedback in our writing lessons, we write essays, and while we're writing, our teacher tours the classroom and checks each other's work one by one and gives us the feedback as we write. So this is a great opportunity to get a feedback as well. Of course, you can get feedbacks in online education too, but it is not as effective as in the face-to-face classroom, because then the teacher comes and gives you the feedback, and even when giving the feedback, you can still ask questions. Like there's lots of opportunity in the face-to-face. And assignments create a golden chance for connection, intimacy, and maintaining interpersonal relationships in the classroom. Second advantage of it is improvements in terms of social skills of students. So this is one of the most prominent advantages of face-to-face classroom instead of the online classroom. When students are in a classroom, they have a chance to socialize. They meet new friends, but this is not the case in online education. So it becomes a huge problem for students' social development and their social skills. Yeah, and also the face-to-face learning can provide students with confidence as well. This confidence arises from students' interaction and the need to speak publicly before the rest to ask a question or clarify a point of view or solve a particular problem. I can give an example from myself. I generally do better in my online presentations than I do in the classroom. That's because we do lots of presentations in online, just like this one. I can speak freely and better than I could in the face-to-face classroom. And this is because we don't really have much chance to do presentations in the face-to-face. If we do 10 different presentations online, we only get to do one presentation in the face-to-face. So if we were having more face-to-face presentations, I could develop more experience and more confidence in myself, but that's not the case here. And also cooperation. Working in groups is a vital part of the traditional learning process. This enables students to work effectively and productively in their educational journey. And another benefit of face-to-face education is the organization. Having a set schedule and deadline allows students to learn organizing their tasks and respecting time. As some students report that their inability to schedule classes first and then plan other activities around them. In this case, students prefer to be forced to carefully planning their lessons. So this is another outweighing aspect of face-to-face education over the online one. And the other one is meta motivation. The traditional classroom atmosphere motivates students, unlike virtual classrooms, where procrastination can become a common attitude. Face-to-face education links the act of learning to the physical classroom, preserving a feeling of now and here all through the learning process. But in the online education, that's not the case again. And you will be able to concentrate harder on your learning because there will be less distraction than if you were at home. So home is a place where we rest, where we sleep, where we play games, where we watch movies. But in the classroom is a place where we study, where we write things, where we listen to our teacher. So we associate home as fun activities and resting. But if we are to study at home, that's not the case. For example, me, I can't really study at home, so I am forced to go to the library because I associate this room of mine as fun activities, so that I can't really focus on my study. Also, you can gain greater understanding, stories and real-world examples from teachers and other students. You have a greater chance of completing your course successfully by doing it in a classroom situations. I did a research about this and found that completion rate of teacher-led classes is almost 5 times higher than that of online learning. So students who attend online classes, they don't really complete their education, but students who apply for face-to-face learning, they do it, they complete it 5 times more. So that's the thought-provoking result of a research. Yeah, I guess that was all for me. Yusuf, what would you like to say?
Okay.
Thank you for listening
Yeah,
to me.
thank you for your contributions. So I'll be talking about the online learning and its advantages. But first of all, I want to talk about a thing that Osman said. So he said that home is a place where we do our home activities, chores, or having fun playing games. But the library is where we study and focus or concentrate on our studies. But actually, when you look upon the past, you learn how to talk, how to walk, how to learn basic or simple math functions at home. You learn that things at first with your family in your home, and then it becomes the place where you learn things at school and libraries. So the main point here is that the society is just implementing you the concept of studying places and home. Yes, home is more comfortable than the outside, where you can sleep, where you can act whatever you like, but it is just something that depends on the person, I guess, because I can study at home so well than the others who cannot study at home rather than libraries. So it is just, as I said, an implementation of the society to the people. So when it comes to the online learning, I will have to strongly support the online learning against the face-to-face learning, because face-to-face learning just a conventional concept which forces students to adopt the function of memorizing instead of learning. So when we look to the when we check or track the development of the students who raised with the technology and with online classes or online sessions, we see that they gained a responsibility to study before the examination weeks. So this helps the pupils encourage self-study and adopt a new method of studying by itself. So according to research that I found on the Forbes, most of the students who are taking advantage of the online education have outnumbered the face learners in terms of getting better exams on some exams, because when they get help from their teachers, they usually try to memorize the information given. But this ones that study alone by watching the recordings of lesson asynchronously, they usually self-study and actually learn instead of memorizing. So face-to-face learning doesn't actually target all the students, but the ones who are capable of getting over it. This is life, so there has to be a competition, and some must be eliminated. And face-to-face learning does as well. So let's talk about the face-to-face education's disadvantages sides a little. For example, online education helps us save money most of the time, because instead of giving our children pocket money every day, we save that money and we
Yes, I would
can,
like, can I add something to that
yeah.
topic? Yeah, I would agree with your saying that online education is more cost efficient because in face-to-face education there's transportation fees also. Like
Mhm.
I can give an example from myself. I give 2.5 liras to tram and another 2 liras to the campus minibus to get to school every day, and this repeats when I return to home too. So it's more costly than online learning. You can continue. Thank
Thank
you.
Yes, thank you for the facts you talked about. I use two transportation in order to come to school. Like I use one bus and one tram, and then I use the campus trains. So using them twice a day makes me costs like nearly 15 Turkish liras every day. So when you multiply with 30 an amount of the week, the number of a month, it really costs a lot. Only the transportation, but you have to pay for the food in the school. You have to, how can I say, do some things with your friends, and you have to spend money also for that. So it really costs a lot. But when you're at the dorm or your house or the place wherever you stay at, you just don't have to think about these things. For example, when I have to come to school, I have to prepare some money for my transportation and the lunch. So when I don't come, I usually spend less, which is way better. Yes, you have to buy a laptop, which costs a lot. Yes, you have to buy internet, which costs a lot. But this only counts for one time. When you buy one laptop, you can attend the classes for nearly, if you don't break it, for nearly 8 years or 10 years. Yeah, I think that's all.
Can I add a
Thank
disadvantage to face-to-face classes?
you. Yeah.
Face-to-face classes make room for bullying, and bullying is a serious issue we covered with Osman here. In online education, bullying is less of an issue because in face-to-face education there are four aspects of bullying, but in online education there can only be cyberbullying, and it is much less than other types of bullying. So that's another disadvantage. So
Can I ask something to Yusuf?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question from teacher's aspect. Let's say a student does not listen to the online session. You can never be sure if they're listening or not. As a teacher, how can you make sure every student pays full attention to the lesson? In face-to-face education, you can see them physically, face-to-face, in person, and you can know whether they are distracted with something or focused to the class. But this is not possible when it comes to online education. So how can we make this? Because for example, in our school's online sessions, you are not required to turn on your camera. So if that's the case, what would you do? In online education, that's you can't control students basically. So how can you make sure every student pays full attention to the lesson? That's my question.
Okay. So as I said, the main point is not to get interact with the student, but let them listen to the class and encourage them to self-study. The main point is this: you record the class and let them listen to that class whenever they want. So the students who are responsible, like us, we don't listen to some classes, as you know, but still study before the examination week. So because we know that we have that recordings and we are responsible, we just collect and compile them until the moment when we know that we have to study. So this online education is for the students who are aware that they are able to get over some things, not for the ones who have not who don't have an idea about the future. It is a competition, and some must be eliminated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. In practical world, well, yes, you're right, but in practical world, that doesn't really work like that. For example, in our philosophy of education class, our teacher didn't record 3 of our classes, so we can't really reach them. But in a perfect world, you're right, but that's not really the case in reality. But thank you for your answer again, anyways.
Yeah, this is a part, as you said, which you are right, but he still shares this PowerPoint presentation with us, which allows us to study the thing that he talked about aftermath or afterwards of the class. So we still have a chance to study.
I would like to add something. Osman, my friend Osman said, for example, they were doing writing, I think, and their teacher can go around the class and look at everyone's writing, give feedbacks, and correct their mistakes. But I remember from my life, I was in prep class last year. We made an in-class writing activity, and there was an app. My teacher sent us a link, and we wrote our writings there, and she could easily traverse around our writings and give us special feedbacks or correct our mistakes if she saw one. And I think that's not an issue.
Yeah, I didn't
Also,
really say it was an issue, but I guess seeing the teacher working for you face to face gives you the feeling that you are being cared. But in online education, that feeling doesn't really there. So I guess from that aspect, I guess we could say face to face education is overweighting the online education.
and also, Osman, I want to say something to you. Last but not least, you said socializing is a part in online learning, but when you look
And perhaps the
at
most important issue with online education. Yeah, you can continue.
okay, so let's not talk about the online education, but generally the concept of online or internet. When we see the people usually get their best friends on games, on online games. So yes, on online education, there is a still problem with socializing, but again, it depends on the people. For example, with my best friends from electrics and electronics faculty, no, electrics and electronics field, I met at online education. I met with them on online. So when you try to be interactive with people, you usually meet them in the real life too. When you're introvert, yes, life really restricts you in terms of this. But when you're extrovert, the opposite, you always find good friends. So what do you think about this? Does it depend on the people or not?
Yeah, of course, there's a human people factor in this, but you met them face to face, right? Afterwards, after the online, the COVID era is finished, you met them face to face. So I don't think that makes the perfect example for our case.
So let's say there are still some people who I
Let's say
have never
you
seen,
are
but I still play League of Legends, and I still like them.
Sorry, can I get the question again?
So there are still some people that I have never seen in the real life, but I still play League of Legends or Rocket League, and I still like
Yeah,
them.
I agree with that. I have those kinds of friends too.
Yeah, we still socialize, but a digital socializing.
Yeah, I guess you guys are right, but I still believe that let's talk about kids, like really young kids, like 6 years old, 7 years old. They can't really focus. They can't really socialize because there is no place for them to socialize. They don't play games in online. I mean, yeah. I think I still believe that social aspect of this is still an issue. If you can make 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 friends from online, but you can have 10, 20, 30, depending on how much students are there in the classroom, you can make much more friends. So I guess from that we could say face-to-face education offers more um, to socializing side of the children. I guess we can talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Thank you all for your contributions.
okay.
Uh,
Thank you. I
and
hope
thank
it was
you,
very beneficial. Yeah.
and thank you, our watchers, for watching. Do you guys have anything to say?
No, I don't really have anything to say. It was a good debate.
Last,
I enjoyed it.
last but not least, I have a question for Osman.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm
Can you
kidding.
keep
I'm
it brief,
kidding.
please?
I'm kidding. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was ready for that, but okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Yusuf, for your counter arguments. They were really beneficial for our debate. And Esad, thank you for your valuable comments as well,
Thank
for
you also.
examples from
Thank
your
you,
own
Esad.
life.
Thank you, Osman.
Thank
Thank you
you,
both.
Yusuf. This time you thanked me too.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So I
I
wish
hope
you
to see
guys,
you all next week.
yeah,
Bye bye.
goodbye.